Hey guys, Bottom25 here, watching launch of Sirius
F9's in startup.
XM7.
So there we heard the call out. F9 is in startup, meaning that the flight computers have taken control of the launch countdown for Falcon 9. First and second stages are beginning to pressurize for launch. The white clouds that you see there is just... there we hear the final call. LD is go for launch. Everything looking good for an on-time liftoff today. Let's listen in on the final seconds of the countdown.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 2, ignition, and liftoff of Falcon 9. There she goes.
Stage 1 propulsion nominal.
Vehicle's pitching downrange.
I'm just looking into this. I'm trying to see if I can find out which booster is being used.
We're now 30 seconds into flight, and Falcon 9 is preparing to pass through max Q, which will happen at T+1 minute and 12 seconds. For those of you that might be unfamiliar with this term, max Q is when the vehicle will experience the greatest amount of dynamic pressure. Call out there that everything is looking nominal for first stage. To prepare for max Q, we throttle the engines down and then back up about 20 seconds later. And this helps ensure that we keep those dynamic pressures below a certain level.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
So there we heard the call out that the vehicle is now going faster than the speed of sound.
So this is booster 1051.7. I'm going to actually see this. I believe it's just, yes, 1051.
Vehicle is experiencing maximum
Yes, this will be this vehicle's 7th.
So there we heard the call out. The vehicle is passing through max Q. Again, that's the moment in which the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of dynamic pressure, greatest amount that it'll see throughout flight. Now in just a few seconds, we'll hear the call out that mvac chill has begun. Just like we did on the M1D engines for first stage, we open the pre-valves between the propellant tanks and the turbopumps, allow some of that super chilled liquid oxygen to cool down the turbopump hardware. There we go. So mvac chill has begun. So that super chilled liquid oxygen is flowing through the turbopumps, allowing them to cool off prior to full flow of propellant. Everything is looking good with stage 1 trajectory.
Good, we're getting close to Miko, which is when they shut off the 9 Merlin engines.
Coming up, we're going to have 3 events happening in quick succession.
And igniting the second stage engine.
We're going to have main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation and SES1, or second engine start 1. Main engine cutoff coming up in 3 seconds.
And Miko.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
All right, there on your screen we have confirmation of stage separation as well as mvac ignition.
mvac ignition, there it goes.
Good mvac ignition.
These are stiffeners.
Great view there of planet Earth. Rotating behind the first stage, which is on the left-hand side of your screen, and the second stage on the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side, we can see those grid fins beginning to deploy into the landing position. Those grid fins will be utilized to help steer Falcon 9 for a precise landing on our drone ship, which, like I mentioned earlier, is positioned a couple hundred miles.
Nominal trajectory.
Nominal trajectory there for Falcon 9. As I said, those grid fins will be utilized to help guide and steer the booster back to the drone ship.
Bearing separation confirmed.
And confirmation that there you saw it on your screen, the 2 fairing halves have separated, exposing the XM7 satellite. If you look closely, you can actually see the fairing disappearing from view in the background there. Currently at T plus 4 minutes and 3 seconds into flight, and we're performing the first of 2 planned MVAC burns. At stage separation, the first stage's velocity is about 2,200 meters per second, or 5,000 meters per hour. Pretty fast. Once the first and second stages separate, that first stage is actually still moving at such a high velocity that it continues to raise its altitude as it coasts for a couple of minutes prior to starting its downward return back to Earth.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
The next major milestone that we'll be able to see will be that first stage entry burn. For the entry burn, we relight the center engine, which we call E9, and then partway through the transition back through the Earth's atmosphere, we relight 2 more Merlin M1D engines, E1 and E5, to give us a total of 3 M1Ds, helping to slow the vehicle down as it passes back into the Earth's atmosphere. We're expecting that entry burn to begin in about 1 minute. Trajectory continues to look good there on second stage.
That's good. That's
Carrying
always
the
good.
XM7 satellite for Sirius
I don't think
XM.
the second stage itself, well, yeah, no, I don't
on a
think the
nominal
second stage
trajectory.
itself has had any issues. Well, actually, other than the CRS-7, but that wasn't performance-wise.
Gorgeous views of first stage as it has now reoriented itself, coasting through apogee and now returning back down. As I mentioned, we will be performing 2 maneuvers for that landing. First entry burn coming up in about 10 seconds, followed of course by the landing burn on the drone ship.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Good, so as you can see, this thing's pointing now right, well,
First stage is currently about 50 miles
flamey
above
end
the Earth's
down.
surface.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
Good, that burns 3 engines to slow the vehicle
There we can
down.
see that the entry burn has begun on the left-hand side of your screen for that first stage re-entry. Again, we start by igniting the center engine first, and then reignite 2 more engines to give us a total of 3 engines, allowing us to slow the vehicle down as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Entry burn shut down.
And shutdown of those 3 engines for entry burn.
Good. Now the vehicle's angling itself because at the moment it's not heading for the drone ship. Actually, no, I think
Trajectory
it came
continues
off
to look
the drone
nominal
ship a
there
bit,
for
and
second
then kind
stage
of
on the
when
right-hand side
they
of your screen.
do the landing when they kind of
I
float
love that
out.
view of the MVAC nozzle glowing orange
But I
with
think
Earth behind it.
the glide is also to get a bit more precise
Next
control.
up, we have a couple of major milestones happening back
Not
to
while
back.
downlink, but that's
The start of the
relatively
landing
normal.
burn, followed immediately by SECO 1, or second engine cutoff 1, on the second stage. SECO is where we shut down that MVAC engine to allow the second stage to coast for a little bit. This event preserves the fuel until we need it for the final burn to take us to our targeted orbit for the XM7 satellite. And then about 25 seconds after SECO 1, we'll hopefully have a live view of the first stage touching down
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
down on our drone ship. Just read the instructions. So we're expecting the landing burn to begin in about 10 seconds and SECO to begin in about 15 seconds.
And hopefully we will get a feed from the drone ship.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
I believe that means they will no longer, just SpaceX use the automatic flight termination systems. So I presume they won't, they just disable
Everything
those at this
continue
point.
to looking
So
nominal.
there we go, we've got
And there we
SECO.
heard the call out of SECO.
Oh, there's the
And tuning
drone
in
ship.
for that landing on the
Ooh.
left-hand side.
I believe this will be the
Hopefully
most
we
on
stick
booster.
it.
Okay, the camera's dead.
Looks like we lost the feed there. We'll try to bring that back to you whenever we have the opportunity. But we did hear the call out that we have good orbit for the second stage. So nominal orbital insertion.
Stage 1 is landed. Landing operators proceed into 11.100 on recovery 1.
We did hear
Okay,
the call out there
that's a
that the
successful
first
landing,
stage has
appears.
landed. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring the video of that as it was over the horizon.
So that's the 7th landing.
And
There
there's
it
that
is.
view.
The 7th landing.
Once
for
again,
this.
this is the 7th flight and therefore the 7th landing of this particular booster, also marking the 69th successful recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage.
Haha, funny number.
The second stage vehicle has just entered its first coast phase, which will last about 18 minutes, and we'll light that MVAC engine for
Okay,
a
I'll
second
stick
time
around for
shortly
that.
thereafter at T plus 26 minutes and 3 seconds. We're going to take a break here, and as always, if you're interested in keeping an eye on that second stage throughout its coast phase, we'll leave you with an animation. See you back here at T plus 25 minutes.
So yeah, guys, I'll be back then.
Made its 7th flight today, landed on
Okay,
the
guys,
ship just
we're
reading
back.
instructions. And the second stage completed its first burn, successfully inserting the SXM7 and second stage into its planned parking orbit. Right now, we're coming up on the second burn of the upper stage engine here in just a couple of minutes. Currently, the flight computer is commanding the settling thrusters to turn on and off, releasing nitrogen gas that helps lightly push the stage, allowing propellant to stay at the bottom of the tank above the engine, right where we need it. We're expecting that second engine start to occur in a couple of seconds. And there we can see
And there's
that the
relays.
MVAC engine has ignited. And the nozzle beginning to turn a lovely orange. At this point in time, the second stage will burn for about 45 seconds, adding over 2,000 meters per second to the second stage's speed before shutting it down for a second time. That shutdown event is called SECO 2, or Second Engine Cutoff Number 2. This burn places the SXM satellite into the required orbit prior to separating it from Falcon 9.
To the geostationary transfer orbit, yes.
And we had confirmation that we have a good burn.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And nominal orbit for that second stage.
Very good, very good.
As a reminder for those tuning in, the SXM7 satellite is still attached to the Falcon 9 second stage. That second stage is now going to start a slow spin, which will help stabilize the SXM7 satellite when it's released. This transition will take about 5 minutes, with satellite separation at approximately T plus 31 minutes and 38 seconds. While we'll wait for the satellite to get closer to its final destination, we'll pause commentary for now during this quick coast phase, but we'll come back in just before separation takes place in about 3 minutes. So we'll be back here at T plus 30 minutes. Stay tuned.
So I'll pause the video as well. See you there.
Joining us.
Okay, we're
Eastern
back.
Time, followed by a successful ascent, stage separation, first stage landing, and 2 second stage engine runs. We have just one more major milestone coming up today, which of course is the deployment of the SXM7 satellite from the Falcon 9 second stage, which you see there on your screen now. That separation is scheduled to take place about a minute from now. The satellite that we're carrying on board today, the SXM7, is Sirius XM's next generation high-powered broadcasting satellite. It was designed to provide service for more than 15 years, and it'll be joining Sirius XM's active fleet to provide audio entertainment and data services to the continental United States, Canada, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean. It will be outputting over 8,000 watts of content, meaning it will deliver the highest power density of any commercial satellite on orbit. And it's intended to replace the XM7 satellite that is currently on orbit. About 20 seconds away from that payload deployment. Here on the screen, we have a great shot of the SXM7 satellite.
we're almost at payload deploy.
Payload separation confirmed.
And
There
there
it
on your
goes.
screen, we can see that the payload has separated. We've received confirmation of that successful separation of the XM7 satellite from our second stage, which will be bringing our webcast today to a close. Thank you to Sirius XM for entrusting us with the XM7 satellite. This mission marked the 7th launch and landing for this particular Falcon 9 booster, SpaceX's 69th successful booster landing, and despite a crazy 2020, our 25th launch this year. To the range and FAA, we appreciate having your support for today's mission. And to all of our viewers, as always, thank you for joining us and have a great day.
So yeah, I'm Bottom25, that was the launch of Sirius XM7. Goodbye.